The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Emma Chun stepped onto the crystalline platform, her boots clicking against the translucent surface that floated above the assembled representatives of 300 civilizations. Behind her, Lieutenant Jackson Ward stood at attention, his military uniform a stark contrast to the flowing robes and bioluminescent forms that surrounded them. Emma had served humanity for 15 years, navigating the treacherous waters of interstellar diplomacy with grace and cunning. But today she carried a message that would change everything. Today, the carefully maintained facade would crumble, and the galaxy would learn what Earth truly was, the Council Arbiter. A towering Xinthian with 6 eyes that glowed like dying stars raised one of its 4 arms. Ambassador Shion of Earth, you have requested this emergency session. The Council recognizes your authority to speak. Emma took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around the data crystal in her palm. Jackson caught her eye and gave an almost imperceptible nod. They had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but nothing could truly prepare them for what was about to unfold. Honored Council members, Emma began. Her voice amplified across the vast chamber. For 3 decades, humanity has walked among you as equals. We have traded, negotiated, and built relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. But there is something you do not know about us, something we have carefully concealed since first contact. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. The Kaltorian delegation shifted in their aquatic suspension tanks, while the insectoid Thrax clicked their mandibles in agitation. Emma could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes and eye equivalents upon her. We did not come from a world called Earth by accident, she continued. That name was chosen deliberately, carefully selected from among many to present ourselves as peaceful, unremarkable members of the galactic community. Council Arbiter Zinther leaned forward, its largest eye focusing intently on Emma. What are you saying, Ambassador? That your world has another name? Not just another name, Jackson interjected, stepping forward to stand beside Emma, his military bearing and the scars visible on his neck spoke of battles fought in humanity's hidden wars. The true name, the one recorded in our oldest languages, the one that defines what we truly are. Emma activated the data crystal and a holographic display erupted above them. Ancient texts scrolled past Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphics, Sanskrit, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, all showing the same word in different forms. For millennia, before we reached the stars, before we even understood what lay beyond our atmosphere, our ancestors called our world by a name that reflected its true nature. Emma's voice grew stronger, more resonant. In our oldest tongue, in the language that would eventually spawn thousands of others, we called it Eridu, the mighty place, Adama, the red ground, Terra, the land of terror. The council chamber erupted in confusion. The Arbiter raised all 4 arms, demanding silence. I don't understand, croaked Ambassador Vexler of the Amphibian Collective. Terra? Earth? These words seemed similar, not threatening. Jackson's expression hardened. That's because you're not looking deep enough. You're not understanding what those words truly mean in their original context. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted, showing planetary classifications, evolution charts, and combat footage that made several delegates recoil. Let me tell you about Earth, Jackson said, his voice cold and precise. Our world has a gravitational force nearly double that of most inhabited planets in this council. We evolved in an environment so hostile that 99% of all species that ever lived on our world died out. Our planet has been struck by asteroids that caused mass extinctions 5 separate times. We have survived ice ages, volcanic supereruptions, and atmospheric changes that would have sterilized most worlds. Emma picked up the narrative seamlessly. Our star, what we call the Sun, emits radiation that would be considered dangerously unstable by galactic standards. Our moon creates tidal forces that shaped our evolution in ways you cannot comprehend. We have weather systems, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis that regularly produce more kinetic energy than most species' military arsenals. The holographic display showed images of Earth's natural disasters, tsunamis swallowing cities, tornadoes tearing apart landscapes, volcanic eruptions turning day into night. The council watched in growing horror. "But that's just our environment," Jackson continued. "Let me tell you about what that environment created. Humans are pursuit predators evolved to chase our prey across vast distances until they collapse from exhaustion. We can survive in environments ranging from Arctic tundra to scorching deserts. We can heal from wounds that would kill most species. We can adapt to almost any environment through technology and willpower alone." A delegate from the peaceful Luminari species stood, their light form flickering with distress. "Surely this is exaggeration. We have observed humans. You seem no different from us." Emma smiled, and there was something predatory in that expression that made several delegates unconsciously retreat. "Have you ever wondered why human athletes seem to perform so well in galactic competitions despite your longer histories with advanced training? Why our soldiers are requested for every major security operation? Why our engineers can work triple shifts that would hospitalize most species?" She paused, letting the question hang in the air. "It's because we evolved on a death world. What you consider extreme is our normal. What you consider impossible is our everyday." The holographic display shifted again, showing comparative biology. Jackson gestured to the floating images. "We heal from injuries 3 times faster than the galactic average. Our pain tolerance is considered pathological by medical standards. We can consume toxins, alcohol, caffeine, capsaicin that are literally poisons to most species, and we do it recreationally. Our immune systems are so aggressive that we had to develop medicines to calm them down because they were attacking our own bodies. We can survive for weeks without food, days without water, and critical minutes without oxygen," Emma added. "Our bodies are designed for endurance, for survival, for persistence. We are the species that looked at the top of the food chain and said, 'That's where we belong,' and then we took it by force." The council chamber had grown deadly quiet. The implications of what they were hearing rippled through the assembly like a shockwave. Council Arbiter Zinther spoke, its voice carrying a note of carefully controlled fear. "And the true name of your world? You said Earth was chosen carefully. What does your world's true name translate to in galactic standard?" Emma and Jackson exchanged a glance. This was the moment everything changed. "In its oldest, most fundamental form," Emma said slowly, "the name we gave our world translates most accurately to war ground or battlefield. Some scholars prefer the proving ground or the forge of survivors, but the most literal, most honest translation?" Jackson's voice rang out clear and hard as steel. "Deathworld Terra, the ground that tests, the land that kills, the planet that forges survivors from those strong enough to endure. We didn't come from a peaceful garden world like most of you. We didn't evolve in harmony with our environment. We survived in spite of it. We conquered it. And then we looked up at the stars and decided to do the same thing all over again." The silence that followed was absolute. Then slowly the implications began to sink in. "You've been hiding this," whispered the Kaltorian ambassador, their water tank rippling with agitation. "For 3 decades you've pretended to be like us." "We didn't pretend," Emma corrected gently. "We are like you in the ways that matter: sentient, curious, capable of compassion and cooperation. But we chose to downplay our origins because first contact protocols suggested that revealing the full extent of humanity's capabilities would cause exactly this reaction." She gestured at the panicking delegates. At the security forces that had unconsciously moved to defensive positions. At the Arbiter whose 6 eyes were now wide with something approaching terror. "We wanted to be friends, to be partners," Jackson said. "We didn't want to be feared. But the galaxy is changing. New threats are emerging from dark space. The Void Collective is expanding. The ancient warnings are proving true. And we realize that we can't protect this council, can't stand as humanity's representatives while hiding what we truly are." Emma raised her hand, and the holographic display shifted one final time. Now, it showed human history, not the sanitized version presented to the council, but the truth. Thousands of years of warfare, of survival, of clawing their way up from primitive hunters to spacefaring. Civilization through sheer determination and refusal to give up. We are the species that looked at continental divides and built boats to cross them. We are the ones who saw the sky and decided to claim it. We are the civilization that split the atom, walked on our moon, and reached for the stars, all while fighting wars among ourselves that would have destroyed lesser species entirely. Jackson's voice grew softer, but somehow more intense. And here's what you need to understand. Everything you've seen from humanity over these 3 decades, our diplomacy, our peaceful trade, our cooperation, that's all real. We chose that. We wanted that. But choice implies alternatives, and you need to know what those alternatives are. We are not your enemies, Emma said, and her voice carried the weight of absolute truth. But we are from a world that breeds survivors. We are the children of Terra, the descendants of those who looked at a planet that killed 99% of all life that ever existed on it and said, "We will be the 1% that endures." The council arbiter finally found its voice. "Why tell us this now? Why reveal yourselves?" Emma's expression grew grave. "Because the Void Collective is coming, and they're not like anything this galaxy has faced before. They're not traitors or diplomats or even conquerors in the traditional sense. They're the dark between stars given form, and they're going to test every species in this council. You'll need warriors," Jackson said bluntly. "You'll need soldiers. You'll need a species that understands how to fight, how to survive, how to look at impossible odds and find a way to win anyway. You'll need humans, but we won't hide what we are anymore. You need to know exactly what you're getting." Emma stepped forward to the edge of the platform, looking down at the assembled representatives. "We are the Deathworlders. We are the products of Terra, we are humanity. And we are offering you a choice. Stand with us as equals, knowing what we truly are, or stand aside and let the coming darkness wash over you." The silence stretched, pregnant with possibility and terror in equal measure. Finally, the council arbiter spoke, its voice shaking slightly. "This council will need time to deliberate, to consult with our homeworlds." "You have 72 hours, Jackson interrupted, his tactical training evident in his crisp delivery. "Our deep space sensors have detected the Void Collective's vanguard. They'll reach council space in 30 days. You have 3 days to decide if you want humanity at your side when they arrive." Emma softened her partner's bluntness with a slight smile. "We understand your fear. We've spent 30 years trying to avoid causing it. But fear and respect aren't mutually exclusive. We're still the same humans you've worked with, traded with, laughed with. We're just being honest about where we come from now." As they turned to leave the platform, Ambassador Vexler of the Amphibian Collective stood, its voice carrying across the chamber. "Ambassador Chun, Lieutenant Ward, one question if you please." They paused, turning back. "If you are products of a death world, if your planet is this forge of survivors... why do you seek alliances? Why not simply conquer?" Emma's smile was sad and genuine. "Because we learned something our death world couldn't teach us directly. We learned it from each other, from millions of years of social evolution, from thousands of years of civilization. We learned that survival is important, but it's not everything. We learned that strength without purpose is meaningless, that power without compassion is darkness." Jackson nodded, adding, "Terra made us strong. It made us survivors, but we made ourselves human. And being human means choosing cooperation over domination, partnership over conquest. Being human means being more than just another apex predator. We are Deathworlders," Emma concluded. "But we choose to be protectors, not destroyers. The question isn't what we're capable of. The question is, will you let us stand with you when the darkness comes?" As they walked out of the council chamber, leaving behind a gallery of shocked, frightened, and contemplative delegates, Jackson murmured, "Think they'll accept?" Emma glanced back at the chamber, at the representatives already beginning to argue and debate. at the Arbiter, whose 6 eyes followed them with a mixture of terror and hope. "They'll accept," she said quietly, "because they're terrified of what we are, but they're more terrified of what's coming. And deep down, they know that when the galaxy needs warriors, when civilization itself hangs in the balance, you don't call upon the peaceful garden worlders. You call upon the survivors of Terra, you call upon humanity behind them." The debate raged on, but the truth was out. The galaxy had learned Earth's true name, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Death Worlders had revealed themselves, and the galaxy would never forget.